But we had a couple of little good news stories this week, didn't we? Henrik Pedersen signs a new contract. Everyone's like sound. We all like Henrik. Great stuff. And Mr. Chansiri hands over the sale of the club to a proper agency who are going to do things by the book. There'll be NDAs signed up and around by the interested parties. They'll be allowed to look at the books. Great stuff. Two good news stories. And then everything gets blown up in the air again. I mean, I don't really know where to start. Shall we start with the potential sale of the club? Well, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not really going to get into that because, as I said to you before, I'm quite sick of it now. There's loads of rumours and people dropping out bits of in the know and this sort of. The truth is, if it is now being done properly, we're not going to find out, are we? If it's been done properly, we're not going to find out. So when my phone beeps and somebody says, oh, there's a Monaco bid coming in now, oh, there's a London bid, oh, there's another American bid. Or it might be that Texter with his 10-gallon hat. And then the latest one, or there's a Texan billionaire who's been backed by the Sicilians, you know. I'm not going to pay any attention to that. I'm really not. As I said before, I'm only going to take it when I see a new owner with his picture up back at Star, holding scarf, saying I want a bright future for Wednesday, I'm going to do this and that other, and all positive spin that they always say when they turn up. So until that happens, not getting involved with that, you know. Like I say, you're just seeing tidbits, little rumours going around on Twitter and Facebook and WhatsApp, and you don't know what's the truth. And let's be honest, with the world as it is today, anybody can say anything and it'll spread. You know. I mean, I heard a rumour today that I've got a massive knob. And I should know because I started it. Do you see what I mean? Anybody can say what they want. So I'm not going to get into that. Like I said, I'll believe it when it's all done and dusted. And hopefully this firm that is brought in are going to carry that on. Do it properly, get it, you know, find out who's got the money, who ain't got the money, and they can look at the books and whatever else. So I want to focus on things that are actually true and tangible and that we can actually, you know, sort of pin down. And the one thing that we can pin down is that there seems to be a bit of an exodus of players from the club. Kadamatri's already left for Man City, passed his medical, and I can't fault the lad for taking that move. Massive club, probably best manager in the world, unbelievable facilities, and, you know, them little things, the basics, you know, like paying the players, you know, that sort of thing happens there, so I can't fault that. It's a shame to lose him. Shame to lose the others as well. A young lad, another one on his way to Man City, apparently, Romario Collins, who's so young, he hasn't even got a profile picture on the website. 14 years old. Talking about a 6-figure compensation sum for a 14-year-old. It's all crackers, isn't it? I mean, when I was 14, I was reading Beano. So he's on his way. Another one who's gone, Satoru Kike. That's a name I struggle with, but it's not one I'll have to struggle with for much longer because he's gone to Southampton. And again, you can't fault him. Southampton got a good record of bringing players through the youth system and a pathway to their first team. They've done that really well the last few years. And again, they pay the players. So you can sort of understand it from that point of view. Where it's frustrating, though, is that for years, Wednesday's Academy's been slated a fair bit, let's be honest about it, and people are, oh, what's putting our academy? We never produce anybody. But we are actually starting to produce players. I mean, we produce George Hurst. I don't want to get into all that drama again, you know, like the chairman suspending him for the year because he got kite on. But we are producing players. Bailey Cadamartri as well, who's going to be in and around the first team, I'm sure, this season. The younger brother who's gone to City. This Satura lad, the Collins boy, that, you know, they are producing these players now. And here's the irony. We've got a first team that's low on numbers. We can't sign anybody for money for the next 3 windows. There's a wage cap limit and a 1-year contract limit, I'm led to believe as well. We're producing young talent, and if you put those two things together, you'd say, well, actually, there's never been a better time, has there, for young players to be able to make that jump to first team at Wednesday. Probably never been a better time in the last 40 years. Producing good young talent, and first team needs filling up. Great. Except for one thing. we're eventually producing the talent now, and they're choosing not to stay, and they're choosing not to stay because the club is in a right fucking mess. So it's double frustrations all around, isn't it? There's also some first team players that are off. We already know that Pato's looking for the pastures new, not signed his new deal. Then the rumour is that Windass has handed in his notice. I don't know how many days we're into that notice now. How many more days has he got with that? Was it 5 days? Wrexham apparently sniffing around that. The idea in my head of when's he losing place to Wrexham, I can't quite get it around, because in my head they're a 4th division club in my head. And then there's some other ones, quantifiable ones that have been, mentioned by qualified journalists who have followed the process. So one of the first ones, Anthony Masaba, I'll have to check how you say this, Samsunspor in Turkey. That's been reported by a renowned TV pundit and journalist over there, football pundit, Erkan Suzgun. He got 375,000 followers on Twitter, so he's probably got a bit of a decent record there. Not to be confused, of course, with Erkan, who played Rowan Browning in Grange Hill, the chubby schoolboy. Grange Hill. Dun-dun-dun-dun. Another one possibly on the move, and this has been widely reported in the French media. Another respected one, Sebastian Vidal, he's reported that Gassama is going to Rangers. Now Rangers training down at St James's Park, the same as Wednesday, and in fact apparently he'd actually done some training sessions with them while he's been down there. Subject to a £2 million move, £2.5 million move. That is peanuts, isn't it? That's absolute peanuts for Gassama, who last season, taking Charles out of the equation, who obviously didn't belong to us, you would say Gassama was the owned player of the season for Wednesday. Scored goals in a struggling side as well. In a better side he'd flourish even more, but scored goals in a struggling side. 21-year-old. £2.5 million. They're having our pants down. I won't take a penny under 5 million for Gassama, genuinely. I won't take a penny under 5 million, but it all smacks a little bit this as well of a bit of a fire sale, doesn't it? Suddenly trying to sell all the assets off and get money in. So Masaba on his way, Gassama on his way. And I said, Masaba only played 12 games last season, he's had some injuries. But he performed the season before, and we know what he's got in the locker. So to lose them two, and potentially Windass, if you're playing that system with sort of one up front and the 3 supporting players, they're probably your 3. And we look like we could lose all 3 of them. Then equally, we're looking, well, we've got in reserves, but we're losing a lot of them players as well. It's a really frustrating time. But then, of course, a little rumour gets up. Gassama hasn't quite signed that deal with Rangers. Why is that? Because he's waiting to see what happens with Danny Rowe. Well, Danny Rowe's gone. He don't want to come back. That's been clear for the last 4 to 5 months. We had them little reports. He'd said goodbye to other coaching staff, and a few weeks after that said goodbye to the players. He's now reportedly coming back at the end of this week. That is not a headline I was expecting to read this summer, I'll be perfectly honest with you. I know a lot changes in football very quickly, but that I was not expecting. I suspect Henrik Pedersen wasn't expecting that either. Now Henrik on the club website has still been listed as assistant manager. I just get the feeling that he was being lined for that top job. Now, of course, by saying that Henrik's still the assistant and not the manager in waiting, it makes it very hard for Danny to try and wriggle out of his contract by saying, well, there's no point in me coming back. They clearly want this bloke in charge. I'm like a spare prick at a wedding here, So is that a canny move by the club? I don't know. And then is it partly Danny's agent? He's been touting him round all summer. And as he said to him, look, you better fucking get back, because you're in breach of your contract. You're going to get fuck all if you leave at this stage. You'll be in breach of your deal. So you better get back for that. Who knows? Genuinely, I've got no idea. It could be any number of them scenarios. It might be a little bit of all of them. What I would say to that end is, if you've already said goodbye to your players, if you've already said goodbye to your coaching staff, and then you tip up, you've already missed a couple of weeks of pre-season. Don't matter how good a manager you are, don't matter whether you've got a team of brilliant players or a team of average players or crap players. And it's a phrase I don't like, but I'm going to have to use it. You've got to have them players to buy into what you want. And it's not just into what you want in terms of tactics, style of play. It's buy into you as a person and a personality. And if you've got players who think, but it's fuck all going to bail and leave me here on a sinking ship. You know, if you're a player who's on a 3-year deal, but it's fuck all going to walk out on me. And now he's back. Now, as I said, things move quickly in football. I'm sure some of the players would welcome him back and great, best manager I've ever had, whatever. Some of the players won't. And football, and I've said it time and again, you'll know watching these videos of the last 4 years, football's about people. It's about personalities. You're dealing with human beings, and that's what, and I've said this time and again, that's why I've never booed a Wednesday playing in the ground, because I've seen some awful performances over the years, some absolutely terrible ones, and I'll moan about them to my mates when I get out of the ground. I've never booed a Wednesday playing in the ground because it's not conducive to try and get a result, to try and help somebody play better, in my opinion. And I've seen John Sheridan get booed. So yeah, Danny on his way back. As I said, I never thought I'd see that happen. It's been reported on one or two places online that the players have had a bit of a meeting and a lot of them aren't happy about it. Again, unconfirmed, so take it out what you will. But it's not hard to believe because it's human beings, and like I said before, it doesn't matter if you're a football manager or you work in industry. It doesn't matter who your staff are, whether they're football players or engineers. If you've walked to them when you come back, you've got to win them back over. And some won't be won back over. And I think you then get into a scenario where if you do come back and you have to stay, or even if you come back and you want to stay, and some of them aren't performing for you, you then start looking and saying, right, I'm going to have to get rid of these. So in terms of a farce, it's just going from strength to strength, isn't it? I mean, PG Woodhouse couldn't write a farce like Sheffield Wednesday's pre-season this year. It's absolutely off the scale. So Danny's on about coming back. Henrik's re-signed up. Chansiri selling club. There's about 4 or 5 different bidders, we're led to believe. And there's an exodus of players that, we could possibly be losing 5 players in a week. Equally, we're not really talking about bringing players in. We're not talking about targets. We don't even know who's in charge of recruitment. I presume there's nobody whispering in Mr. Chansiri's ear because he's not been seen for the last 3 or 4 months. He's out there somewhere. Although, I do have one viewer out that way. Get gone. So yeah, all very frustrating. Young players actually being produced for once, walking away from club. And probably 3 of our best attacking talents look like they could be on their way as well. We've got a manager coming back who don't want to be here. We've got a coaching staff who apparently haven't spoke to him since the turn of summer. And, why would you if you think, I've heard a lot of people say over the years, I ain't got any friends in football, just acquaintances. So why would they be talking to him, that sort of thing. So he could be coming back. And it's all a bit of a mess. I've heard some people trying to spin it into a positive. He did achieve a miracle the other year. Nobody will ever take that away from him. And I'm not one of these Danny Roll bashers, by the way. He's been tarting him saying about, but he's made them intentions very clear from Christmas time. And that doesn't particularly bother me that much. And he has been bashed a lot. But I've got to be honest, when he comes back, I think he's put himself in a nightmare scenario in trying to win over these players. Work with the young players that have stayed. and trying to get the results next season when, on top of that, we've still got a points deduction incoming. And then right at the death of the day, I saw a little thing where someone had mentioned something about Danny Rowe, and Alan Biggs, respected local journalist, said, "Oh, I'd heard them rumours he'd gone for United job as well." Okay, now let's not even go there, because if that ever comes out and is confirmed, and he comes back to this job and has to stay around, can you imagine the first couple of weeks we're not getting results? He wanted off. He wanted to go there. We've got no players. Ignore me. Ignore me. I think it's the heat. I think it's getting to everybody, me son included. I'm hoping that we get some more good news coming. But at the minute, I just can't see it. Yeah, I thought about doing one of them live streams again, you know, but it's also depressing. I'm depressed. You're all probably depressed. Me reading your depressed comments is only going to depress me further. Me talking about it will depress you further. So if I do a live stream at some stage this weekend, I think we're going to have to start talking about other things, you know. Like what's the best sandwich filling, that sort of thing, you know. When did this bollocks with putting ice in your cider start? That sort of thing. So maybe we'll chat about that, you know. And what's happening with dragonflies? I saw one about that big today. I thought it was going to fly in car window. It was a monster. It was a monster. I shit myself, to be honest with you. I thought it was going to crack through a windscreen. But anyway, there we go. Windass possibly going to Wrexham, Gassama possibly going to Rangers, Masaba probably off to Turkey somewhere, 14-year-old going to Man City, under 21 who we were desperate to keep going to Southampton, and a manager coming back who don't want to be here. And probably a Texan with a bad at, or another Texan who's backed by a Sicilian mob. No, I didn't mean that bit.